Hi everyone, let's look at the high-stakes interview of the lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya. Let's see if there are any signs of deception. Let's get started.
In June 2016.
You wake up one morning and find you're the focus of all the high-ranking upstream media.
You wake up one morning. She could have started with once upon a time. So she looks very earthy, friendly looking, very submissive how she tilts her head, and particularly calm. Let's look at this again.
One morning and find you're the focus of all the high-ranking upstream media.
Upstream media. Why would she not be angry if she wouldn't have, if that wouldn't have been the intended aim of the meeting? Let's look at a later time.
In June, you met with Donald Trump Jr., with Jared Kushner.
So now, when he says she met Donald Trump Jr. and so on, she started raising her shoulder in a sort of a tense movement. It looks a little bit like half a turtle position where the head sinks between the shoulders to sort of avoid certain unpleasant topics.
With Paul Manafort. What was the purpose of that meeting?
I never knew who else.
So here she doesn't answer the question. What was the purpose of the meeting? She talks about a young gentleman
Would be attending the meeting. All I knew that Mr. Donald Trump Jr. was willing to meet with me. I could recognize the young gentleman who was only present in the meeting for probably.
So it's very interesting. She talks about a young gentleman, very naively for a lawyer.
The first 7 to 10 minutes, and then he
A
stood
lot of details. Normally details are a good sign for telling the truth. Here I have a feeling she just wants to appear very naive
up and left the room.
for a lawyer.
It was Mr. Jared Kushner, and he never came back, by the way.
A lot of benign details.
And the other individual who was at the same meeting was always looking at his phone. He was reading something. He never took any active part in the conversation.
So she says the other individual and before the young gentleman. These are sort of ways to distance herself. She pretends she doesn't know these people.
Was always looking at his phone.
So here she gives the impression that Kushner and the campaign manager weren't interested in the discussion, which is very different from what she says later. We have to come back to this.
He was reading something. He never took any active part in the conversation.
So, high raised eyebrows. She has a believe me look.
They had the impression, it appears, that they were going to be told some information that you had about the DNC. How did they get that impression?
It's quite possible that maybe they were looking for such information.
So she's smiling a lot. Why would she smile if she's in this situation?
They wanted it so badly.
And if they were so eager to find this information, it doesn't add up with what she said before. Said they were disinterested in her, what she was saying, leaving the room, looking at the phone. So this doesn't really add up here.
This morning, she denies claims she is connected to a Russian government effort to aid Donald Trump's presidency.
So this is an important moment here. Interesting. So in the background here, there is this little fridge magnet here with a white, blue, red background, which is a Russian flag apparently. This looks a little bit like a younger version of Vladimir Putin. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having Vladimir Putin at this fridge, and she's Russian after all. I certainly wouldn't have Angela Merkel on my fridge. I don't know what this means here. Let's go on. So now the key question comes. Have you ever worked for Russian government and so on?
Have you ever worked for the Russian government?
So it's very interesting. She looks in the camera. She understands the question, also it's in English. Yeah, there's a translator coming and she waits till the end when the translator finishes to answer the question, to separate herself from this actual question. But here he looks in the camera and smiles. Let's look at it again.
Worked for the Russian government.
So she looks and smiles. Let's look at it again with a slower speed.
Worked for the Russian government.
She blinks. She responds. She looks in the camera. She smiles asymmetrically. It's a sign of drooping delight, potentially.
Do you have connections to the Russian government?
And now there's a lot of distance between the actual response, the initial involuntary response, and the end of the question and the end of the translation when she actually answers. And now the delayed "niet" and an asymmetric smile.
No.
And shaking her head. Okay, So in summary, this lawyer looks surprisingly naive, very calm, very friendly. It's very odd being in this situation. Okay, hope you liked it. Talk to you next time.